Right now, you might be scrolling on your phone, and you happen to glance at the date on the screen. You freeze for a second. It feels like you were just celebrating New Year's Eve about 5 minutes ago. Then you blinked, and it was the 4th of July. You blinked again, and suddenly you're buying a Thanksgiving turkey and putting up holiday decorations. You sit there and ask yourself, wait, where did the middle of the year actually go? Let's rewind the clock a bit. Think back to when you were 7 years old. A random Sunday felt like an eternity. A single week was packed with endless events, and a 3-month summer break, that felt like an entire infinite century. You could live a complete, fulfilling life between breakfast and dinner. This difference is one of the most universal and terrifying human experiences. As you get older, time seems to accelerate. A single year at age 25 flies by faster than a year at age 15. And a year at 40, that feels like it lasts about as long as a sneeze. But the truth is, nothing happened to the physical clock. The Earth doesn't suddenly spin faster on its axis just because you hit your 30s. A second is still a second. A year still has exactly 365 days. The clock didn't speed up, but what's happening inside your brain absolutely did. There's a common myth that as we age, our brains just naturally slow down or our biological clocks break, making us feel like time is cut short. But the real answer is much more complex, much weirder, and directly tied to exactly how you are living your life every single day. The first and most obvious reason is purely mathematical. It's called the proportion theory. When you were 5 years old, one single year represents exactly 20% of your entire existence. That's a massive chunk of time. One summer is a highly significant portion of your total time on this planet. But when you were 50 years old, 1 year is only 2% of your life. It's the exact same 365 days, but the denominator of your life has gotten so much bigger. The longer you live, the smaller each passing year becomes in the grand puzzle of your existence. But math doesn't explain the whole phenomenon. The real key lies in how your brain processes novelty. When you were a kid, the world was massive and completely full of things that had never happened to you before. Your first day of school, the first time you saw the ocean, the first time you tasted a weird new food, or fell off your bike, or spent the night at a friend's house. Every single day delivered a massive dump of fresh data that your brain had never encountered. When the human brain faces something new, its attention skyrockets. It has to work in overdrive to analyze the environment, recording every single detail, sound, color, and emotion. Processing this colossal amount of data creates incredibly dense memory markers. And when you look back at a period filled with sharp, dense memory markers, your brain naturally concludes that that period of time must have lasted a very long time. Novelty makes life feel thicker. By the way, if you've ever looked at the calendar and felt a mild panic attack because an entire month just completely vanished from your memory, go ahead and hit the like button, because you are definitely not the only one experiencing this glitch. But then you grow up and you fall into the trap of routine. Think about your average day right now. You wake up, brush your teeth, commute to work down the exact same freeway, grab a coffee at the exact same drive-thru, open your inbox, sit in a meeting, reply to Slack messages, eat lunch, work, sit in rush hour traffic, get home, eat dinner, watch Netflix, go to sleep. Tomorrow, you run that exact same loop. The day after that, you do it again. A week goes by, then a month, then a year. The problem is, your brain is a ruthlessly efficient energy-saving machine. When an action is repeated enough times, your brain automatically switches to autopilot. It stops paying attention to the details. It doesn't bother recording which specific trees you drove past today, because you've driven past them 1,000 times. When your days become identical, your memories become indistinguishable. You cannot remember how Tuesday, March 14th was any different than Wednesday, March 15th. Your brain lumps all those repetitive days into one single mental filing cabinet labeled work. No new milestones are created, no new memories are pinned to the timeline. So, when you look back at the past month, your brain searches for standout data, finds absolutely nothing, and reports back to you, nothing happened. It must have only been a few days. The entire month gets fast-forwarded like a corrupted movie file. Here is where you need to understand a massive scientific twist. There's a huge difference between experiencing time and remembering time. When you are sitting in a quiet dentist's waiting room for 30 minutes without your phone, time feels endless. Every second drags by in agonizing slow motion. You are experiencing real time very slowly. But a month later, when you look back, those 30 minutes basically don't exist in your memory. On the flip side, imagine taking a 3-day vacation to a completely new country. Everything is foreign, the pace is frantic, you're constantly on the move. While you're experiencing it, those 3 days flash by in an instant. But when you get home and look back, those 3 days feel like an entire week because they were packed with memorable events. Time perception is not a straight line. Your brain experiences time one way, but it calculates the length of it in the past in the exact opposite way. This is exactly the kind of hidden psychology that silently dictates our lives. We decode mind-bending human behaviors like this every week. So if you want to actually understand your own brain, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This memory quirk is why new experiences have the power to alter your sense of time. Taking a new trip, starting a new job, learning a completely foreign skill, or even just taking a different route to work. Anything that breaks the loop forces your brain to flip its attention switch back on. It has to take notes. It has to create new memory markers. Novelty creates denser data files in your brain, and the thickness of that data is what stretches time out when you look back. But modern society has created a brilliant illusion that tricks us. We live in an era of constant stimulation. Every day you get dozens of emails, hundreds of social media notifications, you swipe through thousands of short-form videos, you multitask endlessly. It feels like we're feeding our brains a massive amount of new information every minute. You would think this should slow time down, but the paradox is that constant stimulation is not the same thing as meaningful novelty. You can spend 3 hours mindlessly doom scrolling through 500 different TikToks. Your brain is getting constantly stimulated by tiny hits of dopamine. But when that day ends, those 500 videos do not create a single distinct memory marker. That entire 3-hour block is saved in your brain under one single blurry caption, "Sat on phone." Lots of stimulation, zero distinct memories. The glowing screen is a black hole that swallows both your time and your memory. So why did your childhood feel so long? It wasn't because an hour had more than 60 minutes back then. It wasn't because the world spun slower. It was because when you were a kid, the world was bigger. Almost every moment was a first. Your brain was a giant sponge, frantically absorbing every tiny detail of existence. But as you grow up, the world shrinks. You know the roads, you know how your job works, you understand how society operates. The world becomes entirely familiar. And the more familiar life becomes, the fewer reasons your brain finds to actually remember it. Think back to that kid at the beginning of the video, lying on the grass, looking up at the summer sky, watching the clouds drift by. An afternoon felt like it lasted forever because that kid's brain was actually there, fully present in the moment, feeling the temperature of the sun and noticing the shape of the clouds. Now think about yourself, an adult holding an old photograph, looking back at an old summer, an old house, an old friend, wondering when exactly all that time slipped away. The ultimate truth is that the years of your life are not getting shorter.
They're just becoming too familiar. Time is not speeding up. Your brain is simply finding fewer reasons to remember it. We may never figure out how to make the physical clock tick slower, but we have the absolute power to make our lives feel denser and richer in our memories, not by trying to live faster or cramming more tasks into a single day, but by stopping, breaking the invisible loops, and actually paying attention to what is happening right in front of us. Maybe life doesn't speed up as you get older. Maybe you just stop noticing how much of it is passing. Thank you for watching, and remember to always stay curious with Mismatched.